Hello and welcome to this episode of Simplifying Services podcast. As you know, I'm your host, Harpreet Narang. So hi, Jonathan. Welcome to this show. Would you like to tell us a bit about your role before we dive in, please?
Yeah, sure. So my role is to head up the services within comms care in terms of the architecture. And so the core piece of that is the service catalogue, and that includes all the collateral that covers our managed services, our maintenance, and our professional services packages. So that's put together using a virtual team of consultants who contribute to a lot of that content. It also needs to align with the structures we have. So our managed services has a tier structuring, so our collateral aligns with that structure. And it also includes a relationship to the pricing of our services. So managed services has a SKU-based pricing structure that aligns back to all our services. So it keeps that relationship intact. I also manage the team who's responsible for strategic opportunities. So if we have very large, complicated opportunities, we have myself and a few more in the team who look to knit that together, because if it's large and complex, it involves lots of other component parts and people that look after the specialities. So we look after that. And also we have some customers approach us for bespoke framework sometimes, and they need very specific framework agreements for services we will provide to that very specific partner. At the bottom end, I also look after the a transactional team. So there are a few graduates we employ who look after transactional quoting. So that's all about quickly determining the requirement a customer has and trying to create a snappy quotation based on our packaged professional service offerings.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. So you mentioned maintenance services. Can you tell us a bit more about the range of maintenance services that we offer?
Yeah, sure. And I think it's really worth a recap in terms of maintenance, which is very much about almost an insurance policy approach to keeping servers and networking devices operational. So the risk is they're going to fail at some point. You need someone to come and replace those. So we provide spares and engineering to respond to those incidents on an SLA basis, and will attend site and replace failed hardware when that crops up. We have a choice of multiple SLAs, so depending on what the customer wants, we can respond on a 9 to 5 basis, either at 4-hour or 8-hour SLAs, but equally we can respond on a 24/7 basis, either on a 4-hour or an 8-hour basis.
So, Jonathan, how is support different from maintenance?
Yeah, the two are quite entwined in some ways, because we do provide services that provide maintenance. So where maintenance is an engineer turning up and has spares, where support actually extends further than that, where we end up with an escalation route into the vendor to access firmware and raise cases on technical issues that will always end up driving a particular piece of firmware.
So what happens if a customer already has their own spares?
We're happy to support that as well. So we can support that with a service we called engineering vouchers. So that's a scenario where the spares are on site already, or a customer has a route to get the spares on site. We can send out an engineer to site, again on an SLA basis, and they will install the spares and take care of firmware versions, etc. when that happens.
So would you provide maintenance on end-of-life hardware as well?
Yes, we do. So end-of-life hardware, we can provide support on. Clearly, there would be no support in that scenario because there is no vendor escalation route. But in terms of an engineer turning up and spares turning up, then we can support all of that as well.
So what happens if a customer wants more than just maintenance? Tell us a bit more about the range of managed services we offer as a business.
Yes, and so at this point it really is moving into managed services rather than just straightforward maintenance. So the entry level to that for us would be monitoring. So we can monitor a customer environment. We use a cloud-based monitoring product, and by doing that we can spot devices failing quicker than the customer will spot it. That means we can invoke a maintenance contract far quicker than perhaps a customer reporting that to us manually. So that's the entry level add-on really, and always maintenance is a prereq to any managed service, but monitoring is that first value add to maintenance. But moving up the stack, we have other managed services. We have an essentials managed service, which is very much an entry level managed service and a lightweight service. And in that service, it includes the basic monitoring and very basic ITIL services. So we will respond to the environment in a reactive fashion. So it's very much about picking the environment up when it's gone down. There's no proactive support in this, but often that works well because the customer's looking for a co-managed service where they will fundamentally look after themselves, but they need a backstop from someone else who can help them when it goes wrong, and equally extend support out of hours as well. So we find a lot of customers take our essential service, but we also have our fully fledged service, which we call advanced. So that's a fully fledged managed service that includes monitoring and advanced ITIL functions as well. So this provides a proactive service. So by doing this, we try to avoid the downtime in the first place by patching. So when there are security patches available, we'll apply those. We also include things like change management, problem management, and the other ITIL disciplines to try and keep the environment running before it goes down. Our very top level managed service we call Evolve, and this recognises that technology never stands still. So there's always new products, new software versions coming out, and customers will need advice on what to do because those may require projects to upgrade. It's not something the managed service can necessarily do on its own. It might need a project to upgrade software or even implement new versions of devices. But nevertheless, as part of the managed service, we can advise on what to do as part of the service.
Why have fixed service tiers rather than define the specific requirement for each customer?
Yeah, so it's all about responding quickly to a customer requirement. By having fixed tiers, we find we can respond far quicker to a problem that a customer has, or rather a quote the customer requires, and we can get that quote out the door. And the tiers we have, we pretty much know where most customers will fit within the tier structure. Very occasionally, a customer may ask to go outside of the tier structure, and we can have that conversation. And often we will be able to help, but it will take longer to price up a service that then becomes bespoke instead.
Great. So we have talked about the structure and scope of our services. How about our focus on specific technologies?
Yes, so we have a matrix that defines that. So we've talked about the tiers, but then there's also the matrix of technologies we can cover. So loosely, that is networking environments. We can cover Cisco, we can cover Hewlett-Packard, FortiGate and Juniper. So that covers the range of networking technologies, but then we're also happy with on-prem compute. So if it's traditional Intel or AMD server environments running VMware, Windows, Linux, we can cover that. But increasingly, the world is moving to the cloud, so we can support an Azure-based environment and also sitting alongside Microsoft 365. So we have a whole range of technologies there we can support.
That's fascinating. So how do you address the physical aspects of managing an endpoint environment?
Okay, so this is covered by a very unique service that Ingram has called lifecycle services. So this service provides a portal to manage the inventory, including centralized spares. And so from the portal, you can request, for example, a new device to be sent out, or indeed a box to be sent out to collect the device when it comes back. So from that, in that way, we're able to dispatch and return, but actually that knits in really well with our managed service to manage the endpoints as well. So we offer a service based around Intune and Endpoint Manager that allows us to actually manage the patching status of endpoints, but equally the applications that may be installed. So different departments in the company may require different stacks of application. We would provide consultancy up front, build the list of apps that people need, and then manage the distribution of apps to those. So that meshes very well with the physical components of the service we provide.
Do you have any examples of the verticals we offer these services to?
Yes, the vertical for us is fundamentally determined by the partner we're dealing with because we're a channel-only organisation. And so they could take us anywhere and we rely on their specialism for the vertical. But very typical for us is retail, distribution and manufacture. We find those we're very often engaged in. And, you know, we could give you some examples of solutions we've worked in. Probably the best example we have is looking after a 1,000-store high street store where we're managing the networking environment for that high street store based on Cisco and Meraki. So that's probably the largest customer we have, and clearly that's in the retail sector. But we're really not too fussy about the the vertical. It's more about where the partner takes us. We have the skills to support the partner. The partner has the expertise in the vertical that we address.
Brilliant. So a partner listening to our podcast now, what do you think would be the next steps for them to take if they are interested in learning more about our services, our managed services?
Okay, so probably the best thing is if it's a brand new partner we haven't dealt with before, is we will come and visit the partner, or indeed they're welcome to come to our offices and we can present them on the portfolio of services we have. And then we can also understand the partner and where we fit the partner best, because there's many different ways a partner can use us. You know, they can completely outsource to us, but maybe the partner's got very good capability anyway and they wish us to plug the gaps where they're missing capability. And equally, they can burst into us. So, for example, if they run out of skills in an area, they have some skills and they need additional capacity to their skills, then we can help in that area too.
This is a huge value add because we are here to kind of augment their services and support them when and where needed and, you know, to what capacity.
Yes, that's very much the mission we have, is to help the partners in doing what they do. And it's always about understanding the partner and what they can do already, because we're not here to take over from the partner. We're here to help the partner. So I think it's all about relationship with partners and understanding them and meeting with them.
Why wouldn't a customer use vendor-delivered maintenance services?
And there's no reason why they shouldn't use vendor-delivered services. They are quality services. It's really a question of the value they're looking for and the flexibility of that service. So we can equally sell vendor-based services and are very happy to sell those, but sometimes the requirements are a bit more complex. So particularly when it becomes end-of-life service or they're looking for a very specific SLA, perhaps the vendor doesn't do that. So we can add value in that scenario.
So why would a customer want managed services rather than support their environment themselves?
So generally, an outsourced managed service will provide better value than trying to manage in-house. That really depends on the size of that business. So an SMB size business will certainly benefit from outsourcing. A very, very large organisation probably wouldn't look to do that. Our in-house team can also provide a 24/7 service. So often an SMB organisation will struggle to do the 24/7. They may have people on a kind of rota out of hours, but it's very hard to then deal with things like annual leave and people being sick. So coming to us achieves the full 24/7 service. So a managed service can effectively achieve risk reduction as well by operational focus, and also the fact that we use ITIL as a methodology purely aimed at operating the environment rather than evolving and developing the environment. Often an in-house team in an organisation is focused on projects and they're keen to progress with their projects, and operating the environment really gets in the way of their focus, and they end up just operating as a spare time hobby, which doesn't really deliver the right service. So often their expertise is in a focused area. They may not have the expertise to address the whole environment. By coming to us, we have teams of experts in all the different disciplines, so we can fully cover management of the whole environment.
So basically, we are able to support the partners in getting additional resources as well as driving their operational excellence.
Yes, we can provide the economy of scale, but also provide the expertise and depth as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jonathan. That was really helpful. And thank you for joining us on this show.
You're welcome.
Bye for now.